Hi, my name is Michael G, and today we have another video. And today's video is going into what's kind of going on in the world right now. The Western nations, put an S over there, the Western nations are demonstrating truly psychopathic and narcissistic behavior towards Russia. Yep, that's what we have. And if anybody believes that the Russian invasion of Ukraine was unprovoked, like I said, you shouldn't open your mouth. You really got to spend a little more time and exercise that lump above your shoulders, because the Western nations are provoking Russia. They've been feeding the news anti-Putin, anti-this for a decade now. It's more than a decade. So how are they acting? And let me show you one thing that, I don't want to say I show you, because you can only see what God allows you to see. The interesting thing about the way the United States and the Western nations are dealing with Russia, it mirrors how a psychopath or narcissist would deal with somebody on a personal level. In fact, Biden went as far as name calling to about Putin, and Putin has not stooped to that level. Usually when the name calling starts, the person calling the names is the person that's in the wrong, but that's another story here or there. So let's look at what's going to happen here, what's happening. So Russia has oligarchs, and these people, these oligarchs made a lot of money in Russia, and they bought all these boats. Okay, so they bought these big boats. They're expensive boats. If you are any nation looking at this, and you see Western nations confiscating these boats, they're taking private property away from Russian citizens without due process of law. This is not freedom. This is not, you're innocent until proven guilty. We're just going to take your stuff because you're Russian. That's exactly how a psychopath or narcissist does. They will cross that border, that boundary, and take something that does not belong to them. So the Western nations are doing this, right? So they keep confiscating all this stuff. They're blocking Russia financially, flights. They're penalizing citizens abroad. So you have people that are going to be suffering violence or discrimination just because they're from Russia. Okay. These people in the West have sanctioned Russia too. So many sanctions. And the psychopath, like I had said before, will always fall on their own sword. The psychopath will always create the environment where they lose everything. The person that I was trying to buy their business, the day the guy said that he's in the driver's seat and exercised his psychopathy or narcissism upon me, is when I had pulled the rug out from under him. That moment, when he thought he had me over a barrel, is when I took the barrel and pulled the rug out from under him. So now, let's see what these nations are doing. They're doing sanctions, financial sanctions. They're confiscating boats. They're stopping flights going in and out. The monetary fund, the SWIFT fund. You can't pay for things anymore with Russia. This is all stuff that's happening as the Western nations think that they're exercising control on Russia. Who said that they are the ones that are the gatekeeper of truth, honesty, and the police of the world? I'm waiting to find that out. Someone can tell me, what makes their position right. The reason why the West can do all this nonsense is called the petrodollar. And the petrodollar is the United States currency, is the currency of the world. And a lot of it has to do with gas. That's why it's called the petrodollar, gas, oil. All right. So the USA does a lot of stupid things in their country, and they can export inflation. they can export their problems to the rest of the world, their financial problems. And we can see this in 2008. The 2008 housing mortgage bubble became a world bubble. And nations that weren't really affected were like Russia, because Russia doesn't have the same entanglements as does the United States with other nations. So now the petrodollar is the currency that's used with everything else. You've isolated Russia. Really great. And what did Putin do? He did exactly what I thought he would do. He said that in the past he was paid in gold. Now the only way you're going to pay Russia for their gas, for unfriendly countries, is with rubles. Oh my goodness, it's great. The United States is now created the ruble dollar. The ruble dollar. The ruble dollar now is a byproduct of stupidity of the United States and Western nations. Because you're going to still need the gas. And I don't care how much you hate Putin. You could be Europe, you could be France, and you could tell your people you got to lower your temperature in your house 1 degree because you got to do yours so we can hate Russians. That's the nonsense they're feeding to the masses. While in their mansions, they have that thing set up at 74 degrees in their house so that they're nice and warm in their, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 square foot mansion. But you, the pro, the little peon, has to do their part to hate Russia so we could save on gas so that we don't have to get caught with our pants down and have to go back to Russia. Okay, now you've created the ruble dollar. Putin couldn't do this before. It would be ludicrous if 3 months ago he said everybody's got to pay me in rubles. They'd laugh at him. But now this opportunity opened up itself. The psychopathic, narcissistic United States trying to punish Russia for something that Russia, Putin had told them, you gotta, stay out of my business in Ukraine, which you probably saw my other videos and how they did that to destabilize the gas of Russia. Now the ruble dollar. So what's going to happen? The ruble dollar will start gaining popularity because now other nations are going to see that, yeah, there is an alternative. There is an alternative besides the United States exporting their stupidity and greed and have the rest of the world deal with it. There is a new financial currency on the block. This can happen relatively overnight, and the US dollar will sink immediately. Once this catches some wind, you're going to have India that's going to work with it, maybe too, China, because what does the world see? The world sees that assets are not safe in Western nations. Your boat will be seized. Your money in your bank will be seized. This is what the nations are going to see, that the USA and Western influences can take your money any place, anytime you are. Now, Putin warned his oligarchs. Even though the oligarchs were taking from the country and Putin didn't have the ability to stop all of them, he got rid of a bunch of them, but he can't get rid of all of them because they're just too entrenched. They're like little nations within Russia. He warned them, don't take your money out of Russia. Don't take your money out of Russia. So all these greedy oligarchs took their money, they put it in Sweden, they put it in Switzerland, they put it in London, they exported it out of Russia, and now they ain't going to get it back. Because the Western nations stole the Russian money. They stole the Russian money. I just can't wait till someone grabs Putin's boat and Putin just sends a submarine to go get it back. If you're going to steal Putin's boat, what if he sends a submarine there and he just levels that area to get his boat back? Why can't he do that? If you're going to steal from Russia, what do you think? They're just going to lay down all the time? You think they're just going to be okay with it? This is a nuclear power we're talking about. This is the stakes are really high, and for some greedy, stupid people in the United States and Western nations, they're going to confront Russia. And Russia is very interesting. It's very interesting. Russia and China have lost the most people because of greed and people overtaking their nations. Yeah. It started with Russia back when the Tsars were taken out by the Jewish-led Bolshevik Revolution, Stalin, all that nonsense, and China and the Western nations weren't too good with Russia. And now this might be the time Russia's going to rise with China. And you can't stop it. You're getting everything from China. You know, it's not that easy to say, "Oh, we're going to build it in America." That's done. The kids don't want to do it. I go to auctions all the time, and a lot of the auctions, the father sells the business that had hundreds of employees because the sons can't take it over. They don't want it, and the property's worth more value opening up an ice cream shop. So they sell out the property, make the money, they cash out on the father's business, and 300 people are out of work. I saw that happen over and over again every week. You could look at the auctions. Just look for machinery auctions. You'll see giant plants shut down left and right, left and right. Manufacturing is going to come back. It's going to be rebuilt, costing more money, because a lot of these older businesses have things called like screw machines or cam-operated machines that make parts very quick and they're very inexpensive. But to replace that with a CNC, you know, you could take like a $10,000 used machine and now you have to spend $150,000 to replace it, and it's not as fast. That's another conversation altogether. But what you're seeing is the United States is gaslighting the world in what's really caused the Russian conflict. Whenever they tell you that it's an unprovoked attack, unprovoked invasion, you know that they're lying to you right on the spot. You don't even have to look at it. You don't have to look at it. So everyone's saying that the economy of Russia is going to go down the tubes. For a little bit, it's going to go bad. However, they get that Russian ruble going, and they get rid of the dollar, and now it becomes the petro ruble, and you're going to start finding more nations wanting to deal with them, and Russia might end up being a good place to keep your money, to park your money. Big businesses, you know, big financial people. If this thing works out, Russia gets Ukraine, and it kind of levels out a bit, you're going to find a lot more people investing in Russia, because Russia has been more prudent in the last 20 years with Putin than the United States has been. I mean, can you even think about like someone saying that the United States, Western nations are free countries and they just confiscate boats just because they belong to somebody in Russia? Could you even fathom that? Now, I know a lot of people have this hatred for Russia, but that hatred was fueled to you by the media. The media has been pouring out movies that every bad guy's a Russian. Every bad guy. Like, especially even the Marvel movies. Yeah, the Marvel movies, you know, they paint the bad guy Russia. Batman and Robin, or Batman movie, the Russians were the bad guys, you know. It's just how you are marketed, and most people are weak-minded. They're weak-minded, and marketing works. And the reason we know it works is because everybody spends so much money on billboards. And they spend so much money on those little advertisements on YouTube or Google or wherever you go. There's all these dumb advertisements. Somebody must be buying. Somebody's spending money with all that advertising. The weak-minded person's going to look to all the mainstream medias, CNN, ABC News, CBS, and these people are corporate run. They're going to do the U.S. government propaganda. They're going to do that. And if you look at these people for their news, you're not going to get the whole picture. Frontline has a whole edition on Russia, and all they're doing is they're trying to make Putin seem like he's Stalin. Like he's killed millions of people like Stalin did, or he did what Stalin did. That's stupid. That's just plain ignorant. And anyone that tells me that, I just shut them down in a conversation, because they're grabbing what the corporation wants you to know. The good corporate employees, that's what I'll call them. The corporate employees that say, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's what you're getting from CNN, ABC, CBS, all the mainstream media channels. They're all saying the same thing. Unprovoked invasion, they call it. Nonsense. This is gaslighting. This is lying at an exponential level. And one thing we know is that God doesn't like lying. So we've come to a point where the lies are coming up to heaven. They're literally coming up to heaven. And they have to do this. You got to remember, the psychopath has to keep lying. He has to keep pouring out lies so that he doesn't connect, so it doesn't go downward to the body. The bigger the psychopath, the more enablers he's going to need, and the enablers don't have a brain. They have no they can't use the cognitive abilities. They see in a very narrow upward view, like bugs. So the enablers to the psychopath always see like bugs. You want to see this? Easiest way you could see it. If you see the name Jeff Bezos in the news, they don't say Jeff Bezos. They don't say Bill Gates. They don't say these names like that. They say billionaire Jeff Bezos, billionaire Bill Gates. They're giving them this title, which this title now is for the bug people. It's for the bug people to glorify. That's who they want to glorify. The bug people want to glorify the very large, because they can't use their heads. They can't use their heads because they're bugs. So for them, if you say billionaire, whatever the billionaire tells you, it's right. The good-looking man or good-looking woman in the news station telling you the news, oh, it's got to be right, because they are giving you, they're giving you the background scenery as someone that's believable. Clean cut, clean table, nice background. So they provide the opportunity for you to glorify the presentation. So the psychopath, the narcissist, psychopath, they have good presentation. They're very charming. Like a narcissist is very charming. Forget it. They can pull resources out of you just because of their charm. So these people, the bug people, I call them, because when you're enabling the evil, you're propping it up. You're propping it up. And as the evil gets propped up, it needs to create more violence to everyone around. We are heading to the war because these people have no place else to go. They got no place else to go. So they have to create war. The psychopaths, the narcissists, more the people that run the show, once they get a fulfillment in the eyes, they buy something or they do something, they immediately have to have something bigger. Immediately. And now we've come to the point in time where the lies are so evident that the bad behavior has to be monumental. So the bad behavior, it's very similar to the guy who dropped the bomb on Hiroshima. His name was Paul Warfield. Let me write this on a new page. This is great. The guy who dropped the bomb on Hiroshima. And he is the tool, the right man for the job. His name is Paul Warfield Tibbets. Okay, he dropped the bomb on Hiroshima. He named the plane Enola Gay. Okay? Enola Gay, that's his mother. Paul Warfield was flying the plane. named after his mother. They dropped a bomb. The name of the bomb is Little Boy. Okay? Just suck that in for a second. The son is flying the mother that drops himself, the little boy. Oh, and by the way, Enola Gay, her father named Enola Gay because of a book. And in the book, Enola Gay, they say, in the book, it says it's alone backwards. It says that in the book. And it also has a part where it says that fateful day. That fateful day. Now, why am I saying all this? Because Paul Warfield Tibbets, in dropping that bomb, he had no problem doing it, and until his death, he had no remorse, no nothing. He just followed orders. You know what? There are orders that we shouldn't do. There are things that we should just not do, and we should have our own personal responsibility. And not only that, the first person that comes back to me and tells me that saved many lives, okay, here's my answer to you. Okay, so your answer is, if we didn't do this, if we didn't drop these 2 bombs, we would have saved, we would have lost a lot of lives. Okay, now I'm going to bring your attention to something called an atomic soldier. Atomic soldiers are U.S. service people intentionally, you remember the mushroom cloud? Intentionally placed within the blast radius of nuclear detonations or atomic detonations. These are U.S. service people. How many? In the hundreds of thousands. 100,000 easy. Look it up. So, whoever tells you that we would have saved American lives, if that's the case, why did they put all these service people within harm's way of the bomb? And you can even see them too. Even the dumb videos show you of the bomb going off and there's some bunch of guys like pretty close to it. Those people are being radiated to death. They have all kinds of health complications, and under penalty of law, they can't speak. We are headed for another bunch of Paul Warfield Tibbets people following orders of rich billionaire psychopath driven policy, playing little reindeer games with your lives. And all because you, the person, reproduces the lies. Every individual who hears this video is responsible for all the lies they reproduce. The height of the lies, when they are done, they bring forth death. That's why when sin is conceived, it brings forth death. And let me find that really quick, because I think it's sin, death, search. Okay, it's in the back. If anyone sees the brother sinning, all unrighteous sin, there's not sin. Oops, sorry, I'm almost there. Okay, James 1:15. Alright, afterward, the desire having conceived doth give birth to sin. Okay? So the desire brings forth sin. Sin is the lie. The first thing that happened in the Garden of Eden was lies. And the lies, or sin, having been perfected, doth bring forth death. The perfected psychopath and narcissist is to bring forth death. And that's the enablers to the lies that say yes when they mean no, and the overt liar of the narcissist, psychopath. The end of this and the end of this is death. And if you look now, we are so close to death. And because we want to vilify Russia for for things that they've been saying for years about Ukraine after the coup d'etat. They're creating their own nightmare. My encouragement to everyone is get to the truth. And sometimes it's scary, but find the truth. Speak the truth. Cut the liars out of your life. Hold the liars accountable. Really hold them accountable. Or else you're going to be part of the next Paul Warfield Tibbets dropping the bomb. That death is going to be everywhere in the world. All because of lies. Because death is the perfected lie. That's what death brings forth. The perfected lie. And God bless, and hope this encourages people to have the courage, to have faith, and tell the truth, and be in truth, and cut the liars out of your life. And if that means uprooting and changing things in your life, faith is going to bring you something better. It might not be bigger, but you'll feel better. I can attest to that in my life, that when I had cut the liars out, it got better. It was better. I could sleep good at night all the time. I sleep really good, like a baby. Just go right to bed. I might get up a little bit here and there, but on the whole, just go right to sleep. And that peace comes from, I don't have to worry about lies catching up to me. Just don't. They're not going to catch up to me. Lies perfected bring forth death. God bless.